Janelle Carwell was a girl who had a bright future ahead of her. Her grades at TW Josie Comprehensive High School were very high, and she won many awards for her hard work. One of the pastors described her like this: Janelle was a loving and very smart young woman. What happens next to her seems even crazier because she had a lot of good things going for her. Her family lived in Richmond County, Augusta, Georgia. Her little sister, her mom, Tanya Tripp, and her husband, Leon, lived with her. Now, April 17, 2017 was her 16th birthday and Easter Sunday at the same time. They had a cookout party at their house with friends and neighbors, and she had a pretty big day. Her mom went to bed early, so Janelle and Leon were left to finish the party. For sure, this is what Janelle's mom told the cops that night. Leon woke Tanya up around midnight after she went to bed. He asked if he could use her phone to find something. Maurice, one of his friends, needed a ride because his car broke down. She gave Leon her phone without giving it much thought. He didn't know how to use the map on the phone very well, though, so he asked Janelle to go with him and help him get to Clarksville, South Carolina. This was their story. It seems odd to take a child to do that at that time of night, doesn't it? Leon also took Tanya's phone with him because he didn't seem to have the directions with him. Anyway, things got worse very quickly. The next day, Tanya didn't hear from Leon or her daughter. After their late-night mission, neither of them came back, and their phones were never answered again. So Janelle's mom called the cops in a panic to say that they were being lost. Tanya was sure that they would have answered the phone if they had seen her calls. Of course, this big search began for both of them. The police, and especially the people in the area, got really interested. Everyone was looking for the lost teen. For the next 2 weeks, the search went on and on. A local minister with a radio show helped get the word out about the case, and Janelle's mom was on a Facebook live streaming event. She told people that she had brain and lung cancer, which must have made everything even worse, right? On the Facebook post, they were trying to get more money for a prize. By June, they had raised more than $2,500. But people in the neighborhood were also scared that there was a dangerous animal nearby that could kill them. There was a lot of news about Janelle, and I think people were pretty scared. But by the end of April 2017, police had finally found Leon's car, about a mile from their house. His white pickup truck was seen. The police looked through it for any evidence of a fight or DNA that could lead them to the worst suspect, but they couldn't find anything. The police then looked at their cell phone records. They learned that Janelle and Leon had not been near the Clarksville area where the friend had apparently crashed. Even worse, Janelle had stopped posting anything on any of her social media sites. For a famous teen like her to just stop, well, that made the police and everyone who cared about her very worried. Bring Our Missing Home, a group that helps people find their missing loved ones, was very involved in the case. There hadn't been a single phone call or message with a sighting of Janelle, even though the story had been covered a lot and millions of flyers had been distributed all over Georgia. This made them very worried. The cops did hear something important about the case in the end, but it wasn't at all what they thought they would find. Finally, reports of a sighting began to come in, and guess who it was? It was Leon Tripp. Someone saw him in Atlanta by himself, but Janelle wasn't with him. The cops knew they had to find out more about Leon's past. Their search didn't take long because they quickly found that he had a very bad crime past. He had even been in jail for more serious attacks. This was known to Janelle's mom. In fact, they went to high school together. And after Leon was jailed for a while, they became even closer by writing letters and calling each other really sweet. Leon and Tanya got married while he was still in jail, but it looks like Janelle's mom didn't mind at all about his really sketchy past. I already told you that he moved in with her and her 2 children after he got out of jail. This happened in 2015, 2 years before Janelle and him disappeared. Really, that setting doesn't look good on Tanya or Leon at all. This time, the police were after him for kidnapping. They were sure he did something bad to his stepdaughter. Janelle's mom didn't want to believe this story though. Someone from the news saw how little she wanted to hear it. Kathy Rhodes, who ran Bring Our Missing Home, agrees that Tanya's deeds were becoming less clear. Tanya and Kathy had worked together a lot while they were looking for Janelle. She couldn't help but notice that there were more and more red flags. It didn't add up to enough. The people working on the case were in close contact with Tanya at this point, and they were becoming very worried about what she was up to. There were more signs that Tanya might be angry at her daughter. At this point, Tanya even said that the police were only after her and not doing enough to find her daughter. But the cops were finally able to find him. Someone called to say that Leon had been found. He was in Atlanta at a U-Haul shop. Isn't this good news? But no, Tanya Tripp was right there with Leon when the police showed up at the U-Haul to arrest him. Yes, that is strong proof that something went wrong with the whole thing. What did they both keep from Janelle? The police were now sure that Tanya knew a lot more about her daughter's disappearance than they thought. She claimed, though, that she only had seen Leon by chance. Tanya said she was being kicked out of her apartment and started moving to Atlanta. As she drove the U-Haul back to the station, she saw Leon walking along the road. That's how they ended up together. That makes perfect sense, right? Tanya worked hard to make that story sound convincing, but it's not nearly as good as it sounds. It didn't work with anyone. Her meeting him by chance is 1 in a billion. The police also thought it was very unlikely. Right away, they charged Leon with kidnapping and Tanya as well. Everyone was becoming more aware of how much they had been lied to. People worked really hard to find Janelle, so this must have hurt a lot. This made Tanya's story fall apart into a lot of pieces that didn't make sense together. When the police caught Tanya, she kept giving them somewhat different types of her story. Leon also told them a completely different story. Leon was claiming that he and Janelle were always going to Atlanta. It's clear that this wasn't true. She never made it there. But when she was questioned, Tanya stopped answering right away, and the police couldn't get her to say anything else about the other story, maybe because Leon hadn't gone over it with her first. The police also looked very closely at Tanya's 911 call. They quickly realized it was all a big lie and that she had told it to lead the search teams in the wrong direction. It would have given Leon a lot more time to do whatever he was up to. Plus, Janelle's mom didn't have any kind of cancer either. The other sick thing about this is that she lied about all of that. Do you remember how badly Tanya wanted her daughter back? She probably didn't care much about getting justice for her daughter. She knew something bad was going on and was hiding it behind a big show. In the end, both parents were caught and charged. Leon had also sent in a note saying that Janelle was no longer alive. Now, the police could only keep looking for Janelle's body, but they still don't know where she was. On the Easter weekend, almost a year after Janelle went missing, the police put out a very sad statement. This was sent by someone in Augusta, which is not too far from where Janelle lives. They called the cops because they saw something strange and scary in the garden of the house they were going to rent. The area was looked through and the sad truth was found. Investigators confirmed that this was all that was left of Janelle. Some tooth records from right before her birthday helped figure out who she was. After all these bad things, Leon and Tanya were finally charged with everything. They are both facing charges. In fact, it's still not clear why they did something so evil. As you might guess, everyone in the area is furious that Tanya has been bothering them for so long. They're shocked that they fell for it. People had worked so hard, but she lied a lot. It made them sick to try to find her. A leader in the community named Ray Montana told the news media about this. There were days when it was 100 degrees and I was sweating. A lot of our people split up. There were some who went to the hospital because it was so hot. One girl had to get a snipe tap. There was a lot of sadness in our lives because it affected the neighborhood. Janelle was just like our own children. Things keep getting worse and worse in that case. In 2018, some really bad new proof was brought to the charge that Tanya and Leon had met with a killer several times to plan a hit on Janelle, and in the end, Leon did it. They were thinking about it for at least 2 years. That's really gross and cold, isn't it? That's not like a mother at all. Things keep getting worse in this case. Janelle was never able to grow up. Aside from her poor sister, the only people who seem to really care about Janelle are those who have never met her. I believe it's because of how terrible the things that happened to her were, and how much she had to offer that many people felt close to her. People who didn't know Janelle were at the gathering of her school held at the house where she was finally found. They did this to help the community move on with their lives. Also, some people are trying to make Janelle's death mean more. Leon Tripp is charged with murder, kidnapping with bodily injury, cruelty to children, and concealing the death of another. The prosecution filed a notice of the intention to seek a death sentence if he is convicted of murder. His wife is facing a separate prosecution for murder in the second degree, concealing a death of another and hindering the apprehension of a criminal.